So, very tired and losing my voice, but of course, when something important happens, I have to rant a little bit. There's not much I can say, because much better and more intelligent people have already said everything and made everything known. But again, my conscience compels me to say something about historic events, and of course, most importantly, my utter and full support to Julian Assange, and unequivocal support. And I must point out that I don't think that even under torture during the Moreno government, I don't think he lost any of his wits. I don't think he has at any point done anything a remarkable man. I don't think he has at any point done anything wrong. And again, WikiLeaks has absolutely nothing to do with the Russian asset. That's a utter, complete fabrication by the elites. Complete horse crap. Well, okay. Firstly, Lenin Moreno, of course, he's going to be in big trouble, and I think I can't remember who said it, but I'm pretty sure, yes, he is firstly trying to create a little diversion from the trouble he is in because of WikiLeaks. Thank you, WikiLeaks, again. And again, you know, that penthouse in Florida when he has to escape from his own country, I guess, yeah. But otherwise, you know, I think that must be it. But otherwise, of course, I'll leave it to Rafael Correa to describe what sort of an, you know, no good son of a crazy bitch Lenin Moreno is. I leave it to Rafael Correa. He'll do it much better than I ever could. Then I guess as a personal comment, I would love it, because again, one has to also comment on everybody, on Snowden, and on poor Chelsea Manning, who is being tortured right now, and it is absolutely ridiculous that you can have as savage a country as the United States. It's halfway to Saudi Arabia, you know, in its total barbarism and savagery. It's ridiculous that it has any voice in the world, and that there's anyone who could ever describe it as free or democratic or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, as someone who was brought up on English languaged film, and who always thought of himself as part of the West, and all the truly democratic values and so on, it's absolutely horrifying to find out how little faith one has in the United States. I mean, it's like the go-to idea is that, for heaven's sake, you know, Assange must never be deported into the United States, no matter the fact that it's completely illegal and ridiculous, and all the charges brought against him are absolutely beyond ridiculous. And, you know, a citizen of another country and a journalist and so on, you know, aside of all that, but simply the idea of Assange, the human being extradited into the United States, to be tortured, and how it doesn't matter what what some progressive says, or the entire Young Turks network says. It doesn't matter. The United States, it's a barbaric country, and nobody is. It's totally incapable at the moment of controlling itself at all. It's amazing, again, as someone who has always been a Westerner. It's horrible to find out that one has absolutely no faith in the United States, none at all. That it has any law, any order, any civilization. It's that one does not trust it one bit. It is staggering. But at the same time, of course, I mean, someone who has always liked Sweden and trusted Sweden, and has considered the Swedes to be, brothers, close. I mean, the shameful episode of these, propped up charges against Assange for rape, and the fact that since they were drummed up, that they couldn't interview him in the Ecuadorian embassy. Again, the utter disappointment, in Sweden, so depressing. And of course, again, the terrible idea, again, because Assange is Australian, the fact that, all this time, how useless Australia has been in defending human rights, one of its own. And of course, then Britain. So how clear this is, this absolutely universal elite in all the Western countries, whose aims are exactly the same, and really, they're not at all interested in ordinary people, human rights, or international law. That also is rather disappointing. One would love, again, as a little side note, that it would be lovely to see if in these ridiculous, I don't know what to call it. It's like a tour of "Do you miss me?" And I can tell you I don't. From Barack Obama, where he goes around the world, and for some reason, so many people still like him. It would be lovely in one of these occasions where he just, dishes progressives and is collecting praise for his own ego, for someone to ask about, Snowden and Assange and Manning, for once, how do you sleep at night, Mr. Obama? So anyway, would be just lovely to see. But then when it comes to the actual situation now in hand, I am personally I would like to agree with Kim.com, and I'm so happy that there's someone else in the world with Finnish blood saying anything of merit. Anyone with any Finnish blood saying anything of value. I like to agree with Kim.com in his assessment that Assange is a really, really, really clever guy, an intelligent man, and his lawyers are, and they are gonna, they're gonna use every legal avenue in the UK to prevent, deportation into the United States. And of course, this is all absolutely it's surreal. A citizen of another country, a journalist. It's unbelievable that this can have happened. But that I too would like to think that it's going to be quite okay. That they are actually going to win eventually in the United Kingdom, and of course the second part, which is dear Jeremy Corbyn. I'm very much in the camp who says that he's going to be the Prime Minister of Great Britain very soon, within months, and of course he has already said that he'll never deport Assange. Again, as a militant atheist, thank God for people like Jeremy Corbyn, that they still exist. So I just have to say that in a way I'm not totally. I still have faith when it comes to the fate of Julian Assange, but again, poor Chelsea Manning, she is being tortured at this very moment. But then on that score, I also have to, on Corbyn, I also have to, because every time when progressives discuss it, you always find someone who says that Corbyn can never be Prime Minister. The powers that are will not have Corbyn as Prime Minister, so that's why they're going to stop him from ever becoming. Again, how? That's my question. I quite agree that the global elite does not want Jeremy Corbyn to be the Prime Minister of Great Britain, but how are they going to stop him? What, is the CIA going to assassinate the leader of the British opposition? How are they going to? I know that I totally agree that they never want him and they want to stop him. How are they going to stop him? That's just my question. I don't understand it. But the main idea in this little rant that I'm doing, the actual my own little point that I want to say again is about history and what I've said earlier, that there is no one of the things, besides the fact that no one is doing anything to the giant corporations, the US Army and other big armies who are actually destroying this planet. They are responsible for the economic, ecological disaster. So again, the next, the fact that we are heading towards utter ecological disaster, the destruction of human life on this planet, but if by some miracle somehow we would survive, there's no way that any real history can be written from this time, because it's so mad that absolutely everything is indefensible. It's just it's too dystopic, it's too surreal to be somehow written about. And that's again, that has been my philosophical point, that why I think that we're not going to survive, because this should not be. This is just incredible. In that vein, with Venezuela first, and now Assange and the absolutely unbelievable false narrative that I accidentally saw in the real news, the MSNBC clip where they tried to make Wikipedia a Russian, sort of a Russian connection to Wikipedia. The complete lies. But let's actually, that is the one thing that I don't know if I've ever said, so I'll say it here. The whole Russiagate thing and the whole narrative, it's very strange that you can have people, I think it's Ray McGovern's bunch and so on, proving that there was no hack of the DNC, that it was a leak, that the download speed, that it could not have been done through a leak, that it was somebody actually downloading stuff on a zip drive inside the DNC, that it wasn't, there was no leak, which means that there's no Gucci for 2 and 2.0 and that the fact that there were Cyrillic alphabets and so on, that it totally completely implicates, I can't remember, is it which one, NSA or CIA, or they actually have the program exactly to do that, to actually leave a false trail, something to actually frame someone for making a leak. That the fact that it has already been totally and absolutely proven that it was not a Russian hack that happened to DNC, and then you actually have, I don't know, is it papers or just reports of the Hillary Clinton people sitting with their heads down when they have managed to lose to a missing link like Donny Looferface Drumpf, and somebody coming up with, why don't we blame the Russians? That you actually have the beginnings of Russiagate and actual eyewitness reports on the fact that they decided to try, I can't remember, was it the New York Times or somewhere, they tried with one article to blame the Russians and it took off, and they were like, how could anyone believe this? That you have all this information and still Russiagate exists, even though it has been utterly discredited from the very beginning. You have the meeting where they came up with that crap. So of course there was no, WikiLeaks did not get it from the Russians. The Russians did not hack the DNC. So such a thing does not exist. Where the for example, again, this false narrative that MSNBC was immediately pushing, is based on. And it's so strange that you can actually have, again, if people just, ordinary people, if they would just get some information, if they were just a little bit less wrapped up in their own lives and in their own affairs and in, I don't know, God knows what, social media or watching sports events or something, some crap. You can have all this information clearly. If you can just, with few clicks, you can have it. And yet this total fairy tale can exist. But then, the actual point, the actual thing that I wanted to say in this rant, which is about, again, Venezuela, Assange, all these things. The total and utter, I don't know, erosion of any sort of international law or human rights or anything of the sort. Again, people have pointed out, what an awful violation, the US invasion of Iraq was, And people pointed out at the time, when Obama did not prosecute the Bush administration for what they did, that it would lead to this, didn't they? So again, how we get here, or got here, into this dark place where we are as a species at the moment, that is not, that's not really a mystery. But again, to as an ordinary person, it's amazing to see that we have none of it. We have that absolutely everything. The constitution of every country that has one. Again, any Nuremberg trials, international human rights, Magna Carta, all of it has just been thrown away. There are no. There's no international law. There are no human rights. There is no rule of law anymore. And again, as we all know, there is no truth anymore. It's amazing just to witness the totality of it. It is really mind-boggling. Now, that's all I wanted to say. The totality of, the lack of any sort of a rule that one might have thought is the accomplishment of 100,000 years of social evolution. One would have thought that 2019 we would have, that we could at least hold on to Magna Carta. But no. Well, anyway, that's my bit. I've already, or let's say I'm in the process of donating to Assange's defense fund, and anyone who ever happens to see this, I urge you to do the same. And again, I have to say I am hopeful that for Assange this will end well. Of course, we'll see, and I have been wrong before, and I certainly hope that I am not. That since I am so often mistaken, that me talking about it does not cause any unluckiness to Assange or anyone else. Trust not. Anyway, that's for my soul, my little contribution to this crisis. All the best.